This is Generation Green's Wildflower Project, the podcast that starts conversations to create connections on this journey we're all doing called life. Together, we can grow through what we go through and bloom in spite of it all. So let's be like wildflowers and see where the wind blows us. Hello and welcome back to Generation Green's Wildflower Project. I'm your host, Sherry Sobey, and today I'm sitting down with my co-host, Alison, and I want you to get to know her, and I want you to know her story, and I want you to know how we're connected and how we believe that we were meant to be in each other's lives. So, hi, Alison.
Hi, Sherry.
So first of all, this is going to be getting vulnerable, in sharing your story. So I want to thank you right off the hop in case I forget about thanking you for being that vulnerable.
Well, no problem. Thanks for letting me share it and for putting up with me, because you never know what can happen when you talk about vulnerable things.
Absolutely. So I first met Alison. I'll just give you a little bit of history here. I guess it was, oh my gosh, so many years ago now, originally. Her daughter, Amy, was, I think, around 15, something like that, when she started dating my oldest son. And there was just something about this girl that I really, really liked. And I think there was almost something about her that made me envision, if I had had a daughter, that's what she was going to look like. There was just something so sweet about her. And when that young relationship came to an end, I just couldn't be done with her. I couldn't be done with her. And
she couldn't be done with you either.
No. And she had gone away to New Zealand, and we kept corresponding. And it was a really great time for her, I think, as far as growing and maturing and figuring out her place in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then when she came back from there, we always still stayed connected. And then eventually there was an opportunity where I could hire her. And I just needed her in my life for some reason. And then when I decided to start Generation Green, she was the first person I thought of, and went and had tea with her at her adorable little place and said, "Do you want to do this with me?" And she was, of course, all over it, because Amy lived and breathed everything that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And was totally somebody that I was looking to as well, because she knew a whole lot. I mean, I was interested in the skincare part of things. She was interested in saving the world.
Yeah, exactly. And she was so excited about that project.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. She couldn't stop talking about it.
And it didn't take long before, the ball got rolling. And then we brought in Jen, and her and Jen were like, just clicked. Mm-hmm. And we were just the three of us doing this. And It was great. It was great.
It was a special time.
It really was. And then Jen had gotten pregnant, and Amy was excited about that and started a little box going for her. And then I went away for my first trip, my first family holiday to Florida.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call while I was there. And I don't even know if it was Brooklyn or Bailey, one of her stepsisters, saying that there was an accident. And I had spoken to Amy while I was there. I think it was actually the same day. And so I was just kind of in shock. I don't even remember what I was hearing. She had just heard that there was an accident. And it was a message that was left for me, actually, because I didn't get to my phone at the time. And then I called back, mm-hmm. and they said, it's not looking good. And it was just like, what the heck?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
And I remember things just being such a blur. I remember I couldn't stop crying, for one thing, when they're telling me this is not looking good. And so basically, Amy had been hit by a what should we say?
Well,
what are we allowed to say?
She was hit by somebody who was charged with impaired driving and dangerous driving. And because of lack of evidence, we won't get into that, the impaired charge was dropped.
Right.
So she was hit by somebody who was charged with impaired driving and dangerous, but he was convicted for just dangerous driving.
Which is shocking. Just shocking.
It's absolutely horrendous.
Yes.
In my opinion.
So this was like around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right?
5:30. She was
5:30,
hit.
crossing Broadway and Donald,
Yeah.
and on her way to
Walking from one
job
job
to
to
the
the
other.
next.
Yes, because for those that maybe didn't know about this girl, and we really need to talk about, I mean, the fact that we now believe she was an angel that lived on this earth.
Absolutely.
And we were all just so, I guess, blessed is the only word I can think of,
Yeah.
to have her in our lives. Those of us that did have that wonderful opportunity
Yeah,
to get to know
absolutely.
her. And she was somebody that jam-packed her life full of, I mean, she didn't just work for me at Generation Green. She worked at Stella's. She worked at the cinema. She worked up at the ELA, which was her passion. Mm-hmm. She was an environmental studies student.
Yeah, full-time student, plus all these jobs.
And all these jobs.
And
And the Cinematech. Did I say Cinematech?
And living on her own in her own apartment.
Right. And I used to say, you know, Amy, slow down. Holy mackerel. Like, you are so busy. And she said, you know, I look at you, Sherry, and I think you're so busy. And she says, our busies are just different. But it was like she was just trying to do it all. It's almost like she knew she needed to have all these experiences.
Yeah.
When you say, like, looking back, like, she lived better than anybody I could ever.
That's one of the things I've always said is she lived.
Yes. She
End
lived
of
a full
story.
life.
Like that, the word lived,
Yes.
she lived life to its fullest and apologized for nothing
Yeah.
and planned everything. Like everything was coming her way. And yeah, she lived life.
Yeah, she really did.
And I'm grateful for that.
And I even know, like, after at the Forks, even after, you know, people had heard that she had passed away, and the maintenance people, a lot of the maintenance people there are immigrants. And, you know, they would come up to me afterwards and they say, she was my friend. She was my friend. She took the time to get to know she knew their stories, their families' names, like their kids' names. She really connected with people.
She did. She
And-
would come home and talk about them
Yeah.
sometimes.
And it was so inspiring. And now I remember her saying to me at one time when I would say, Amy, you got to do some cleaning. She said, oh, but I'm better at so many other things.
Yeah. And she was.
Yes. So, I mean, she really made me see that, how important those relations and those people that cross our paths and what have you. But it was after, I mean, you and I knew each other, but it was after the accident that we realized, I think, that, you know, Amy wanted us to connect.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to turn this over to you now. And I want you to share a little bit about your story and, you know, like maybe start with, you were a single parent,
I was.
a single parent with Amy.
Yeah, I was 26 when I was pregnant with Amy, 27 when I had her, and I was overseas, and I came home, and I decided that I've always been very stubborn. I don't need anybody. I can do this on my own. And so her dad was living in Ireland, and I was here, and I raised her for 9 years, and my mom used to always say, you're going to get in trouble with this girl. And not meaning she was going to be trouble, but just that I was always with her. And not because I was worried about her, but because she was my best friend. I would come home from work and my 5-year-old would be talking to me about our social welfare system. Because she'd heard something from one of the kids at school that their mom doesn't work and that they were getting kicked out of their house or their apartment because they were found that her boyfriend was living with them. And Amy was like just all up in arms over this and I don't understand. And so I would sit down and I would explain it to her. When you're on social assistance, then we need to know if you're living by yourself or with somebody. You have to report everything. And if you don't, then they will kick you out of your home.
At 5 years old, you're having this
And
conversation.
we're having this conversation. And I'll never forget her grade 1 teacher saying to me, like, who is this child?
Yeah.
I don't know many adults that know the difference between renting and leasing. And your daughter and I had a conversation about it this morning.
Yeah.
And she was one of these precocious kids that needed to know everything.
Yes.
She couldn't not know everything. When she was 4.5, she had what's called a neuroblastoma, which is cancer. It was about an egg size, about the size and shape of an egg in her neck. And so she had that, we had to have that removed. And she had to go for bone marrow tests afterwards, which is pretty frightening. And the people at St. Boniface, or pardon me, HSC Cancer Care are incredible. And I'll never forget Dawn. She was the counselor at the time, the child counselor, and she came and she sat with Amy, and Amy had her doll, and Dawn and Amy and the dolls gave the dolls bone marrow tests, and Amy was okay until we got home. And then I had to read the pamphlet to her. I couldn't even pronounce some of the words in that pamphlet, but I had to read it to her. She wasn't confident until she heard what was in this little piece of paper that the doctor had given me. She just needed to know. Even if she didn't understand it, she needed to know that I wasn't holding back. So she was an interesting kid in that regard. But yeah.
She was always very mature.
Always.
I remember her telling me her motto was, what would grandma do?
What would grandma do?
What would grandma do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She was going to get a bracelet made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. WWGD. What would grandma do?
That's, yeah. She's an old soul.
She was. In fact, a few months before she died, she said, oh my gosh, she said, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to move into an old folks home. And I'm going to rent an apartment there. She said, isn't it perfect? I could play canasta and knit all evening long. And I went, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, what 23-year-old or 22-year-old talks that way?
Right.
But she meant it.
Yeah.
She loved to knit and play cards and
drink
talk to old people and drink tea.
And drink tea. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, she was raised around older people.
Right.
She didn't have siblings. She had a cousin that she was very close to, but didn't see every single day. So I guess maybe that's why. I don't know. Either that or she was just born old.
Yeah. No, I totally, because I mean, I had the best conversations with her too.
Oh,
like we would seriously sit and have tea and talk life stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was absolutely the best conversations ever. I mean, she was deep. She was deep about stuff.
She was very deep.
Yeah.
I remember her in the January before she died, this is January 2014, saying to me that she was just so stressed out. She just couldn't, and I think she may have said something to you similar, just about how she was trying to pack it all in. Mm-hmm. Because she felt like she needed to get it all done and she was running out of time. And I don't think she meant that she was running out of time.
Like lifetime.
Yeah. I think she just had this innate feeling in her that time was short and how am I going to get all of this done? And I don't really know that she knew why she was thinking that.
Right.
But I'm a firm believer that we each of us do know, somewhere deep down, we do know that there, when the time is coming.
Right.
Because the comments she made for 2 years before she died, a year before she died, she made me promise to turn her into a diamond when she died.
Right.
And I just was so mad at her. And she was the fun facts were the best thing for her. She had an app on her phone that was just fun facts. And she used to love to Google them and read them. One of the fun facts was, did you know you can take human ashes or pet ashes and send them to one of these companies and they will extract all the carbon, get rid of all the impurities, pure carbon, put it into these machines that are high intensity pressure and heat, and they will grow a diamond.
And it takes some time.
It takes a couple of weeks for it to grow.
Oh,
like
okay.
3 weeks
that's not
or something.
That bad. Okay.
And so of course we had it out. I was mad at her and I said, no. I said, you promised to turn me into a diamond. I said, I'm the one that's going to go first. I'm the mother. So of course I'm going to die first. So I made her promise. And then with the promise that I would promise, because of course she wasn't going to let it go. And so, yeah, that was the year before she died. She made me promise to turn her into a diamond when she died. So she's on my finger now.
Yeah.
Most beautiful blue diamond.
Exactly. I was just going to say, and you don't know what color your diamond is going to come out, correct?
Not from all places. There's a couple companies that you can tell them what color diamond you want, and they will just add additives to make that color.
Yeah.
And well, you and I know Amy. Mm-hmm. She was our granola girl, organic child. She was not going to do anything. She wasn't putting anything impure into her body. So I thought, I'm not going to do that to her ashes. Mm-hmm. So there was one company in Switzerland that does not put any additives in. It's carbon, and your diamond will become a shade of blue to white. and it's all based on your carbon. They don't know what color it will be.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, Amy, it's up to you.
Yeah.
And at first I wanted a clear diamond. And then as I was thinking about it, I went, no, that's too normal. It would just look like a normal white diamond, and that's common, right? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, when it came back, it's the color of her beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah.
And
that's just amazing. And it's gorgeous. It's
and
gorgeous.
it's beautiful.
And
yeah.
so to have that always with you is, I don't know, I just think, because I have a necklace that I had given her as a gift.
Yes.
And I have it back, and I feel like I just have her close to me. Mm-hmm. Same as how if people walk into my office, they will see I have a picture up on my wall, because I feel like and it's up high, and it's up high for a reason, because I really feel her presence. I feel like she's
watching
over.
Yeah.
We did this together. That's how it started. And, so I just have to have her there because I feel comforted.
Yeah.
I just need it. And so going back to that day now, I mean, it was April the 5th.
April the 5th.
So, but what's interesting, so April the 5th, the accident happens. And I guess at that time, she would have had a serious brain injury.
She was hit. And of course, she was thrown quite far.
Right.
And she hit her head, and she did get a serious brain injury. But the biggest problem was she went into cardiac arrest at the scene. And it was over 34 minutes for them to resuscitate her, and you don't recover from that.
So she's on life support.
So she's
at this
on
point,
life support.
and I'm on a plane to get back, because
Yeah.
all I can think of is that I need to see this for myself. I just didn't seem real.
Yeah.
I needed to see her, and if it was so, I needed to be able to say goodbye.
Right. On your birthday.
So she's on life support, and I was so worried I wouldn't have the chance to say goodbye for some. It's all I kept thinking about. It was just so unreal. And they actually didn't take her off life support until it was April 7th. So
Right.
that is the actual
The day
of
they
her,
couldn't take her off life support until they had run a series of tests.
because she wanted to donate her organs.
Yes, well, then they take brain death very seriously
okay.
as well. And at the time you could not donate your organs because it was a brain death. That's how her organs were able to be donated. But they have to make really, really sure
Right.
that it is a brain death. And I knew it was from the second I got the call. Before I even saw her, I knew.
Really?
I just had that feeling. This is not good. And so yeah, I mean, her brain completely died from the hit, as well as from not having any oxygen for 34 minutes or very little.
Yeah.
And so she was able to donate her organs.
Mm-hmm. And so I remember getting to the hospital, meeting Jen there, and I was really concerned about Jen because she was, far along in her pregnancy, like she was due the next month. And I remember walking in and seeing her, and I knew at that moment she was gone. Mm-hmm. I just knew. And I remember we had to leave the room because they needed to do something, and you said, "Do you want to go back in?" And I said no, because I felt that wasn't her. That wasn't her. And I didn't want to have that image. Like, that's not what I wanted to overtake of my memory of her.
No.
I wanted to be able to just picture her smiling and her new short haircut and those things, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to have that really imprinted in my mind.
Yeah.
But I think it's ironic that it was April 7th, which is my birthday. And I make a joke about this only because Amy used to bug me about how I couldn't remember anything.
Yeah.
And I said, she did this on purpose. She held off there so that I'll never forget. I never forget. But you know what? It's a reminder to me every year on my birthday about how important it is to take each day and live it to its fullest. That's what I think about. I light my mason jar candle because we did a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was one of the things. And I think that maybe that's something that people need to do when, I think, here's the whole thing about this. I mean, there was a delay here in grieving, especially for you. You could not move forward because of all the stuff that was happening with the court. And
3 years.
3 years. that you cannot move forward. You are staying in that. And so I think that, you have to do things that are going to kind of give you some control back.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the fundraiser was something I think that was a way, like I cannot do nothing at this point.
Right.
I don't know if that's how you were feeling, but
I don't know how I was feeling,
Yeah.
especially the first year. It's a bit of a blur to me. I honestly, it's funny, like I'll remember the stupidest things and they're so clear to me, like they're like yesterday. And then somebody will say something that sounds like it's a really important thing that you'd think somebody would remember. And I blank right out. So I don't know. I think the grieving brain is just, it's an entity unto its own. It protects you. I know the best night's sleep I've probably ever had in my entire life, is the day I said goodbye to Amy. On April the 8th, we said goodbye to her because they were taking her. She died on the 7th, but they weren't taking her. They kept her on the life support until the 8th and to harvest her organs and find the recipients. Mm-hmm. And I said goodbye to her at 3:00 in the afternoon, and we walked home. And I went to bed that night, and I think I slept for 12 hours solid. And everybody's just going, "Oh, you mustn't have slept for weeks." And I had no choice. I think it was my body. I think your body and your brain just takes over and says, "Okay, we're going to look after you now because you can't." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was out. I mean, it wasn't a good night's sleep. Don't get me wrong. I had all sorts of nightmares in it and dreams, but I did sleep. I slept solid for probably 12 hours, which shocked the hell out of me. Yeah. But I think that's your body goes into survival. Your mind goes into survival.
Well, I think that anybody that has a child can relate to this. I mean, it's our biggest fear.
Yeah.
And
it's one you never, it's your biggest fear, but you never ever really believe it'll ever happen to you. It only happens to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
it's not true.
No.
Sadly.
No. So, I mean, it was hell for 3 years, mm-hmm. going through the pre-trial, the trial, sentencing, all of that for mm-hmm. you. Like, for me, I think I was kind of like, I thought this is out of my control at this point, right? And I just kept trying to keep her memory in my mind here. And I just thought, okay, I don't know how I can deal with this. Like I went to the pretrial for one of the,
right.
And then I could not go back.
No.
I just couldn't go. I didn't go again till the sentencing.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame you. I didn't want to be there.
No, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
That would have been
hearing the details.
Yes.
The details, the trajectory and the boot and the, where things were placed on the road. It was reliving it. I don't know, when you don't actually see something happen, mm-hmm. I don't know if your imagination makes it worse or better that you didn't see it. I don't know. I have no idea, and I don't want to know because mm-hmm. I don't ever want to see that. I see it enough in my brain, mm-hmm. but it's my imagination just takes it to the nth degree, and I don't know. You can't get rid of those images,
right?
As people are describing them in minute detail at the trials, you don't get rid of those.
No,
you just build them up in your head, and those are your visions and your pictures for 3 years. 3.5 years, really. Mm-hmm. So, and
then from there, so we did the fundraiser, and so that was a scholarship that was set up in Amy's mm-hmm. name at the U of W. What is that called again? I'm blank.
The Amy Gilbert Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Yes, thank you.
See?
I can remember the name.
Memory is another thing that goes when you're grieving, and you go into menopause. Literally, I think it was the same week, day, month, whatever, because a week after she died, I went to the doctor. Of course, I was at the doctor a lot. And he said, your hot flashes and that, they're probably just the stress and the grief. It's very normal, but we'll test your blood levels anyway, just to be on the safe side. And I went back a week later and he said, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Jeez. You're full on.
Yeah.
And I just cried and laughed at the same time because it was like, really? Mm-hmm. What more? Like, you want to keep bringing it on, kick
Yeah.
me while I'm down, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I was just, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So
And then from that, you got a letter from one of the recipients of.
I did. I got a letter from one recipient, a kidney recipient,
Right.
who was a grandma. I'm sorry, grandpa's men don't write on butterfly
Oh, yes, yes, yeah, I remember the
paper in a beautiful handwriting. And
Right.
it was a lovely letter to receive. It's the only one I've ever received, but it was really nice to receive and really, really hard to receive.
Absolutely.
Because
yes.
I got it, and she's talking about how she's a grandparent, she said, because you're not allowed to refer to a gender or a place or anything in these letters because the donor-recipient relationship has to remain anonymous. It's just our laws. So everything is very carefully worded, but I mean, I feel that it was a grandma.
Right.
And she said how giving my daughter's generosity and giving her organs to this woman, this person, she allowed her to watch her grandchildren grow up. And it was a very proud, beautiful, and pissed off moment all at the same time. Like, seriously? You're a freaking grandmother? She was 23. Why couldn't she become even a mother, never mind a grandmother? So I was angry. I was bitter that somebody who's already lived their whole life and had a family and children and now grandchildren got a second chance. But my 23-year-old didn't even get to the point of graduating from university, getting married, having a baby. She didn't even get any of that. So it was really hard for a while there. And at the same time, I was so proud of her and I was so happy for this woman. It was really...
What a roller coaster.
It is. It's like, I always say, I feel like I have two brains.
Yeah.
One half of the brain is the logical one half is the emotional one. And it's just really hard to get the two to meet. They don't meet up. Rarely do they meet up.
Yeah.
They're starting to get closer, but they still don't completely connect.
And I know then for a period of time you were, and I don't know if I think you still are seeing a grief counselor. Is that?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a couple of months, which I take as a good sign. But yes, I do still see him. In fact, I texted him a couple days ago and said, I need to come and see you because we're coming close to April again.
Yes. And I think that there was one thing that you said to me about how grief is going to be forever with you. And actually, I want you to say it because I love how because I'm such a visual person, the walking with grief, and just kind of give that visual because I really had such a better perspective of what that was like for you at that moment.
Yeah, my grief counselor explained it to me when I first started seeing him, which I didn't quite understand at the time because you're too deep into it. You can't see anything other than your grief. But it stuck with me, and through the years, I've understood what he meant. And he said that grief is something that is in front of you at all times. It is right there. It's in your face. And when it first happens, you can't take even half a step without bumping into it. Like you're just slamming into grief. But as the months and the years go by, there's a bit more distance between you and grief because you're starting to process it and you're starting to realize that there is still life out there and how to live it with that person in your memories and in your heart, but not physically in your life. And so eventually you get to the point where grief is in front of you and you might take a bunch of steps and bang into it and go, oh yeah, there's grief. Okay, can't have too much fun. Because you feel guilty if you're having too much fun. And then eventually you get to another point where grief is maybe walking beside you. And eventually that's sort of the goal, is to get grief behind you a little bit. It never goes far. But at least if you can walk with grief, you are also able to live some of your life. And so grief walks beside you. And grief doesn't disappear. You may have a day where grief is like 3 steps behind you. And you're in front and you're going, woohoo, this is a good day. And it is. I had one of those yesterday and I woke up today and I just knew this morning when I woke up, how could I have had such a good day yesterday where everything went right? And I was I was like flying high. How could I wake up this morning and feel like I was like slamming into grief again? You know, it was like there he was right in front of me, and I'm going, "Oh, you son of a bitch, go away!" Like it is. My life is still a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it's almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years this April, which annoys me as well because 5-year anniversaries are supposed to be fun and you celebrate them, but you never think until you experience one that a death anniversary is still an anniversary. And when you hit 5 years, it's kind of taken the wind out of my sails a little bit this year. It's a bit hard because it's like, how is it possible it's been that long since I last touched and my daughter and saw my daughter and spoke to her, and like, how is that possible? So it's like, it brings a whole new meaning to anniversaries, which I always took to mean fun, happy, good things. Not all of them are. So, yeah, I don't know. Grief
Sucks.
it does. It sucks.
Like, what is the word here? And I mentioned this before too. It is so hard to know, what to do and what to say and how to deal with it, because there's no rules and it's never the same for anybody. And it's, so it's like, you just got to do what you can do for the other person. For me, it was like, because I wanted to do something, because I felt so out of control with it all. And I just felt like I wanted to just comfort you however I could, but there was nothing I could do. There was nothing. And it was just, okay, I think I can share space for you. Like, I can hear you.
And you did. And you help more than you know. And there's a couple of key pieces of information for anybody who may be listening. I will tell you this right now. When somebody dies, the loved ones want to talk about them. So many people try to, we're not going to talk about it because we don't want to upset her. I'm sorry. I would talk about Amy every single day of the week. I love to talk about my daughter. She's my daughter. She is my daughter. She's not something, although sometimes it feels like, was that real? Like, did that even happen? Was that just a beautiful dream I had? Because it's so hard to believe that they can be gone in such a split second. But she existed, and she was a beautiful person, and I want to talk about her. And
So
how many
maybe that's
children,
what it is. Yeah,
how
I
many
wanna talk
children
about
do
her
you
too.
have?
Yeah.
That's a fun question. How many children do you have?
Yeah.
And I always say 3, because I do. I have my daughter, who is my biological child, who is Amy, that we're talking about. And I have 2 beautiful other daughters, stepdaughters, but I don't call them stepdaughters. I call them my daughters. They have another mother. And, I will never be called mom again, and that hurts. But one of them has given us a beautiful granddaughter, and so I'm called grandma. So I'm kind of taking what I can where I can.
And I think, like, that's how it is for me too. Like, I can't not talk about her because I loved her. I loved her. And like I said, I would think of her as a daughter. And so maybe that is what was, I guess, the part that I needed to stay connected with you, because I just felt like I wanted to talk to her, and maybe I felt like you did too. And
yeah, I did.
And it was an easy
and I
place
liked
to
talking
do it.
to her with you because Amy always referred to you as her second mom.
Right.
You were everything to her. She just adored you and loved what you were doing and was so excited to be working with you. And so, we talked about you constantly.
Yeah.
Whenever we were together, it was always about what was happening at Generation Green and how exciting it was and what new products were coming in. And, Mom, you got to try this. And she was always giving me heck for greenwashing. She'd go through my cupboards and say, oh, seriously?
Yeah.
You bought this because it says the product is green? She's going, it's totally greenwashed. You can't even pronounce the words on the back. They're so full of chemicals. And so, we talked about you all the time. You were so important to Amy.
And I think, like, I just need to keep that memory. And it's not just us either. I mean, Maclean's magazine did a piece on her.
Yeah. Yeah, she was a little star for a while
Yes.
there.
And Gordon Sinclair.
Gordon Sinclair did several
Oh.
pieces on her.
Like he said, there was just something about her. He just could not.
He asked me once, he said, "Why does your daughter haunt me?
Yeah.
What hold does she have on me?" And I said, "I don't know."
But wanted to
this-
know her. They wish they had known her.
Yeah.
That's what we were hearing afterwards. Like, I wish I had known this girl.
Yeah.
When they were hearing all the stories about her and, just her nature, but also like just how loved this girl was.
Yeah.
And how kind she was. And how, when you just think of this perfect person, she was that.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, there's not a lot to pick out other than the fact that she was messy as hell.
Oh, yeah. Well, she
Right?
had attitude, too. She had attitude coming out the wazoo, but, she was generally right
Yeah.
with what she was having attitude about. She just sometimes had a little too much attitude.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, she was, and I've said this, I do talks for the Gift of Life now and again, and on organ donation. And it's one of the things I brought up a couple times. When somebody dies, you tend to immortalize them and make them perfect. And they were amazing and they did nothing wrong. Amy did things wrong, as we all do. We are all flawed people. And, she was a pretty damn good teenager, I'm not going to lie, aside from the attitude. She had attitude. But she didn't, as far as I know, and most of her friends have confirmed it, she didn't drink. She didn't do very much, like not in the formative sort of teenage years. She was a pretty good kid. She came home. She'd call me if she was going to be 3 minutes late, never mind 15 or 20 minutes late, because she was so scared of getting in trouble. And
No, she was good. She babysat for me. I trusted her with my kids.
Yeah, she was terrified of the law. She wouldn't cross a crosswalk. That was the thing that I think got me the most. Is irony even the right word? I don't feel like that's the right word, but she was crossing legally at a crosswalk on Broadway because she wouldn't even cross on a red light. Like most of us will skittle across if there's no cars coming. No, she would not, because it's against the law. You wait until that little person says you can walk. And so it's just kind of bizarre to me that she's crossing at one of these crosswalks legally and she gets hit and killed because somebody ran a red light. That to me is kind of, I don't know, I want to say ironic, but I feel like that's not the right word.
Yeah. No.
I feel like there's another word for it. But anyway, yeah, she was pretty special, and she has definitely left a massive hole in this world, not just in my heart, but in a lot of people's. And like you say, I get messages from people that never knew her. I've had emails from people saying, "You don't know me, but your daughter, she has touched me, and I'm devastated, and I'm mourning her for you or with you." And I'm just like, wow, like that's pretty impressive.
And I think, though, this goes, now we can kind of lead into here. There was something really amazing that had happened where our suspicions of Amy being close to an angel were, kind of, well, almost justified here, or almost confirmed, I think that's the word. They were confirmed pretty much. But there was a situation where you tried to get in an appointment in with Lisa Scrivens.
Yep.
And she's got a wait list like crazy.
She does. I think at the time she had a 2-year wait list. I think now it's 3 to 4 years. It's crazy.
So for people that don't know who Lisa Scrivens is, I mean...
Lisa Scrivens is a local, she's a medium here in Winnipeg. And I think probably in that field is pretty celebrity. She's an amazing, caring, loving woman who has, since a child, and it comes through the family. She talks about her grandmother having the gift as well, does spiritual connections.
Right.
And I felt this desperate need. I had never heard of her before until another grieving parent who I met told me about how this woman, Lisa Scrivens, helped her with the loss of her son. And so I immediately Googled her and went, okay, I'm going to go to the calendar. And I was, at the time that I did this, I was prostrate on my floor sobbing. I was hysterical. I couldn't breathe because I was crying so hard. It was only like a couple of weeks after Amy died. I was just in another, they come in waves, and sometimes those waves are just huge. They're tsunamis. And I was just, I have to see, Lisa, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. And when I finally calmed down enough to be able to get up, I grabbed my phone and I pulled up Lisa's website, and she had a calendar on there, and there were 2 appointments available, not for another couple of months, but in June, I think 1 June and 1 July. And so I picked the June one, and it said enter your credit card information. So I grabbed my credit card and I tried to put it in, and it wouldn't take my credit card. So I emailed the company and said, like, I can't, I've got the appointment, I've got the date, the time, everything, but it won't take my credit card. What am I doing wrong? And she came back and said, oh, there are no rights and no wrongs in this business. If you got the appointment, that was about a 30-second little blip where they were doing some maintenance on the system, and those appointments didn't exist. They
Jeez.
never should have been there. And she said, we believe that, you got that appointment because Amy made you get that appointment because she knew how badly you need it. So we will honor it.
Right. And at that point, was it because you just needed some kind of comfort?
I needed to know.
She was okay.
All I wanted to know was that she was okay.
'Cause
Like
that's
any
what I was,
parent
yeah.
wants to know that your kid is okay. And I just wanted to know, are you all right?
Yeah. Because that's what all I wanted to know.
It's one of those things where whether you're religious or not, when you're faced in a situation like that, you question all the things you've heard from every religion and non-religion in your life. And you start going, but what if?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what if? Mm-hmm. And so I just needed to know she was okay. So I booked a group session, because it was a group session, not a one-on-one. And so I invited as many people. Amy's boyfriend, I brought him. One of Amy's sisters, her other one had already moved to Vancouver by that point. And then, there was a group of us, her aunt and yourself. Yeah. You were there too.
Yeah.
But, there was that group of us that went in, and it was just a turning point for me.
And I was skeptic, and it was incredible.
I was skeptic too, to the point where I went in under a false name.
Oh, did you? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yes, I went in. I'm married to Brian Wall,
Right.
but I'm Alison Gilbert. I've never changed my name.
Yeah.
Never changed my name. And so I went in as Alison Wall. And that's not a legal name. I've never in my life signed my name that way. I've never done nothing, because I just didn't want. I think the worst all the time. It's like, okay, are they going to be going through obituaries? Are they like searching things out? Like, I was so skeptical, right? But so desperate at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I changed my name, and she knew nothing about any of the people who was coming with me. There was nowhere to enter. Who are you bringing? There was so she knew none of your names until we were in that room, and she pegged every single one of us. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just with, I expected to go in there and hear, so does anybody here know somebody who died of a heart attack or cancer?
Yeah.
And we're all going to go, yeah, like everybody.
Yeah.
But no, she came up with names, dates, places. I mean, it was uncanny.
Yeah. And even little things that could only mean something to you. Like, I remember the pinky swear thing. That was huge with her and her sister, something they always did. And then just even knowing, seeing the things that she saw about her, like, flying through the air, and a brain bleed, and, all those things. It was like, I get goosebumps right now just thinking about it. But it was like, oh my gosh, you really are this hope.
You're here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're here.
Yeah, that's all. It was like, oh, just tell me more, tell me everything, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It was like amazing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. And this woman to have that kind of a gift to be able to offer comfort to people
Yeah.
that are needing it so desperately at that moment. And you've since been back on and have done.
Well, that's the funny thing. Lisa and I always laugh now because I see Lisa every time Amy thinks I need to see Lisa. Because honestly, we bump into each other and see each other, and I've seen her probably half a dozen times in 5 years when there's a 3 to 4 year wait list for one visit. But, you know, it is what it is.
It's amazing.
You know, she just keeps coming forth. I had another time, this was for, I guess it was a couple of years ago. Amy would have been 25. I was having a hard time because Amy loved her birthday, and 25 was a big one. And she'd been talking about her 25th birthday already for 2 years because, you know, she was going to do it up big and expected a big gift. And so it was a hard one for me because I knew it would have been special for her. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in this apartment, sitting on the couch on a Sunday afternoon. Her birthday would have been the following Friday, and it was a Sunday at the time. And I just sat there and I just lost it. I was just sobbing. I was just like gut-wrenching sobs going, Amy, I want to spend the day with you. How can I do this? I want to spend your birthday with you. This is bullshit. I'm so mad. And I was mad at her. Like, how dare you didn't fight hard enough? And, you know, I was mad at everybody and everything. And I went to work the next day, and somebody that I work with came up to me and goes, did you get that email from Lisa Scrivens? And I went, what email? And it had gone into my junk. She shows it to me, and it's a spend the day with Lisa, learning how to, you know, connect and with, but on your own. And so it was like a session with 5 people and Lisa. And I went, I'm never going to get in there. And it said 1 spot available. So I left it for over an hour because I thought, I'm not going to get in there, and I don't have any gifts. I'm not like Lisa. I can't do this. And this friend of mine, Tracy, kept saying, do it, just do it. And so about an hour and a half later, I booked it. And again, Lisa said, those don't last more than minutes. And yet it stayed there. Like, people were trying to book it and couldn't. And I got it. Mm-hmm. And the session was held on Friday, September the 18th, which was Amy's 25th birthday.
Holy crap.
So I spent the day with Amy on her birthday through Lisa.
Yeah.
And I mean, those are only 2 of the times we have met. I mean, there's been so many of them, and it's just been incredible.
That's amazing.
I tell Lisa all the time, she's my lifesaver, because she did. I think she saved me. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I would have done.
Wow. And we really hope that we can connect with Lisa. I know she's trying to...
I'm trying to work something now.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out our schedules with hers and how we can, you know, have her on and sharing some of her insight into this. And
she's an amazing person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I saw her out at I Am Festival too. Mm-hmm. And it was just incredible. Just incredible. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all you can say about her. So, wow. So... now today, 5 years later almost. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're working on this. I mean, this coming together, I kind of feel is a little bit of another
This is Amy.
Divine intervention. How, like, you just can't look back and not, you know, see how it's all leading you to be going somewhere. So, I mean, I'm just going with the flow at this point. I don't question it anymore.
No, you can't. The people you meet in your life, you are meeting them for a reason, whether it's because you need that person or they need you for the next 30 seconds or the next 30 years. But you're meeting people for a reason, and I think it's really important to not discount anyone.
No.
Like, just... No. You don't have to go looking, you know, with a magnifying glass at every person you meet, but don't discount people. Mm-hmm. They're in your life for a reason. And I mean, look at us. It took us 5 years to get to this point.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally. And I don't know how, if we would have connected the same way, because it was always, hi,
Yeah.
you're Amy's mom, right? Hi,
Yeah.
how are you?
Yeah, we would
Kind of
chat,
thing.
and that
We'd
was
chat.
about it.
Yeah.
I'd come into the store and buy something,
Yeah.
and then that would be it. We were
Yeah.
done.
I know, but I feel like we have such a connection here,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And then like, bringing Pam into this was so ironic as well, because I
So
had this
funny.
holy shit moment as I'm driving after I talked to you, and I'm just made a date with Pam to have coffee, and we're like, oh, hey, I want to do this thing. And it was at that moment we kind of came up with this whole wildflower thing too. But I'm driving, I think, to my son's house, because I realized, oh my gosh, like, he's a catalyst in bringing us all together. And it's like unbelievable how this life works.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Pam is just loving you too. And
Oh, she's amazing. She's
it's-
so much fun.
yeah, I know. And we're all so different.
Yeah.
Yet have this great connection.
Different and yet so similar
Oh, yeah.
in so many ways.
Well, we keep on discovering these
I
ways
know.
that we're so,
It's
we all
kind
like
of
wine.
weird.
We
Well,
all-
yes, we definitely do like
we
that.
have that in common. No, we definitely have a lot of things
Yeah.
that we're discovering. I think just really relatable to each other, and it's just so nice. It's so lovely.
It's
so
made me
lovely.
realize, I think over the last year anyway, because I think in the last year I've started to actually see clearly again. Took me a long time after the trial, and then a year ago now, actually, it was, I believe, February 22nd when he was released from prison after 6 months. And it was kind of that moment that I went, okay, now what? Because I'd looked forward to, I've not looked forward to, but I mean, my future for the past 3.5 years had been, what's next? What is the trial? Are we ever going to get a date? And then we get the date, and then it's, verdicts and sentencing and things like that. And then all of a sudden it was all over. Not just over, but he'd been in prison. He got a year and served his 6 months and was out free. And how do you deal with that? And so I think since then, though, it's made me realize that the connections that you make and how important they are, because all of that has led us to where we are now. And it has all been so healing and so therapeutic for me. And I'm hoping that everybody takes something out of it, because I think we all do. I think each of us has our strengths and weaknesses and our pain, not even pain so much, but just things that we need kind of bolstering up on,
Yeah,
you just
and
have
I
a
think-
day, you just need that bolster. And it's like,
Yeah.
you guys do that for me now, and it's
Oh.
good, and we've met and we've
Yeah.
connected, and I'm going, all that was for a reason.
Yeah. So I think that it's, you look back on your life and you're like, this person came in at this time and helped me through this moment. And, just realizing all of those things are moving you forward each time, and you're constantly growing too, right?
Yeah.
Through the experiences. Yet I can't even imagine, still, like, I just think about that. Like, I would just be like frozen in my place, not being able to think about anything else. So having that now, I can totally understand what you're saying about, okay, it's done, it's over with. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Now who am I? I think like that's where you're at, right? Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going?
That's exactly what I've been struggling with. And I said, it took me a while to say it to my grief counselor a year ago. It took me a while. It was in the summer, actually, to sort of get it out. I'd been feeling it for a long time, but I just finally said to him, am I real? Like, is this bad? But this has been the worst year for me since Amy died. And he went, that's so normal. So normal. He said, because the year she died, again, your body and your mind are putting you, or they're safeguarding you as much as they possibly can. You don't remember things. They're just kind of putting you in this numb bubble, and you just get up in the morning, you go through your day, you go to bed, you get up, you go through the day, you wish you wouldn't get up. You just go through your emotions. But so he said, yeah, you're just, the first year is you're in shock. Mm-hmm. And then for us, the second and third year were the same as the first, really, because it was all about the trial, and we were reliving it, at the pre-trial, and then, several months later at the trial, and then a couple months later at the verdict and the sentencing. So you're always reliving. And he said, so yes, it makes perfect sense, because now, in your 4th year since she died, you are now basically entering year 2, because it's kind of where you're at. He says you're delayed. Everything is delayed for you, because you couldn't move, you couldn't grieve, you couldn't go forward, backwards, sideways. You could do nothing until you knew what the verdict was going to be. And then I just spent probably from February to, I don't know, I'm going to say probably August, almost self-destructive, just with my own thoughts. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really doing anything, but I was just my own thoughts. I was not letting myself, I was going darker and darker. And through that, my dad died, and it was
test after test after
test.
Yeah.
And then, our youngest daughter got married in July, and it's beautiful, and I'm happy, and I'm devastated and sad at the same time. Mm-hmm. And partway through the wedding, I have to leave and go inside because I am a sobbing mass, because I'll never experience that. And I'll never have that special moment with my daughter. I have it with my other 2 daughters, but they have their mom that they're doing it with. And that's the way it should be. I'm not complaining that it should be that way, but it doesn't make it any easier.
No.
And so it was just it's been a year of growth. And I think in September, it was right around her birthday. So maybe, thank you, Amy, maybe that was you giving me a birthday gift. Mm-hmm. But I just went, nope, enough. I think we're done. I think I'm finished. I think I'm good. I think I'm going to let everything go. I mean, as much as I possibly can.
Right. But you're going to give yourself permission to start going back into living your life a little bit. Yeah.
And I went so far as I was right in the middle of vacuuming, and I turned the vacuum off, dropped the vacuum, came over to my computer and started typing, and did a public a public forgiveness on Facebook for the guy that killed her. And I think there's a lot of people that disagree with me on that. But I'm not doing it for you, and I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I needed to do it for me.
Yeah.
And I can't carry that hate in my heart, and I can't carry that. I know what it did to me for the last several years. It got me nowhere, and I was going down fast, and I was suffering. My health, my everything, my mind, everything was suffering. My work. And
well, it's just poison, right?
It's just absolute poison. Yeah. And I cannot stress that enough. Mm-hmm. But you have to mean it.
Yeah.
And I'd said many times I want to forgive.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him to take any more from me.
You were very honest through everything. Yeah.
But I can't do it because I don't want him to take from me anymore. I have to do it because I just simply want to.
Right.
It just has to come from me. Mm-hmm. And I think it finally did. And that was the turning point for me. And since then, honestly, my life is exploding right now. I cannot stop the ideas in my brain. And I've got, so many things on the go for various companies, and I just can't seem to slow down. Mm-hmm. I need to.
Right.
But I can't.
Oh, it's sounding somewhat familiar.
I know. It's because a lot of it's with you.
Yeah. No, it's sounding familiar about Amy too, jam-packing the life. And it's like, hey, Mom, you got to catch up. You got to catch up.
Maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe it's her. That's the other thing, is this is the first year that I finally said, enough. I'm not doing, no offense, Amy, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. Because for the last 4 years, I've been saying, well, I have to do this because I have to do it for Amy, and I have to go to the trial because Amy would expect me to be there, and I have to do this because that was Amy's favorite, and I have to. And so now I'm finally going, you know what? And I think she gets it, because I swear sometimes I hear her, that little giggle of hers in the back of my head going, duh, finally. When I say, you know what? Nope, I'm not doing this for you. I catch myself all the time going, I'm doing this for my daughter. No, I'm not. I'm doing this for me. I have to stop. So it's taken a long time, but
I'm proud of you, though. I'm proud of you because
You're
I
proud
know
of me
that's
too
what
some
you
days.
should be. And I know that that's what she would want to.
I know
without
it
a
is.
doubt.
I know it
without a
is.
doubt, because she wouldn't want you to be not experiencing and living, because that's what
No.
she was all about.
yeah.
That's what she was all about.
And I don't want anybody else feeling that way either. It's something that you wish you could share with people, but you can't, because everybody's grief journey is their own, and no two
Absolutely.
are the same. And there could be 2 of us moms sitting here, or 10 of us moms sitting here side by side, all having lost children the exact same way, and every single one of us will have a different take on it and a different story and a different grief journey. And you cannot project yours onto them or them onto yours.
Or compare.
You can't compare.
Or judge.
You can't even say, oh, I know what you think. I
Yeah.
know what you're feeling. You can say, I have a really good idea of what you're feeling. But I really don't know what you're feeling, because you don't know that person's relationship with their child, with their loved one. And you can't project that onto people. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest things that I found was difficult for me, was people saying to me, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly how you're feeling. And I would get so mad.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah. Well, and I think you just set people off too. I mean, they're
Yeah.
already angry. They're already going through so many different emotions,
Yeah.
and you don't know. And
No.
I mean, I know, people just hearing your story and hearing, your outlook about it too, like about how, like, the respect you have for each person. And I think this is probably a lot you've learned through, all the tools that you've kind of brought in here, and all these other people
Absolutely.
you've brought in that you're starting to utilize as well. And even getting out there and speaking, I've always said that, like, that's helps you heal a lot too, right?
It does. It
Yeah,
does.
it really does. And so I know that a lot of people that are hearing this, even just how to deal with somebody else that's going through a grieving process, I think is just super
Get
super
counseling.
important.
That's the only thing I can
Oh
say.
yeah, you can't do it alone.
I cannot stress that enough. I don't know. I was desperate. I needed to talk to somebody. I didn't know who to talk to. I knew I needed help. So maybe for me it was pretty easy, because I actually opened the phone book up. It wasn't really a phone book. I Googled it, found somebody. They were close by. I made an appointment. I went in and saw him. And now he works from his own home, and he's like part of our family. He has counseled myself, my husband, both our daughters, Amy's boyfriend, Amy's best friend. I mean, he knows all the players. We've taken everybody to him.
Yeah.
But it has helped every single one of us. And I personally believe that every person on this planet needs counseling.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and so many people just roll their eyes at that. I'm going, really? You've
No.
never needed somebody to talk to who's completely unbiased and doesn't know your story and doesn't know, doesn't come with all the baggage and all the bullshit from the past. You've never had to talk to somebody like that, because that's all it is.
Oh, the world would be a much better place if everybody was in counseling.
Goodness,
I'm telling you.
it would be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, and when you find a great one, I had a great one. And if I could see her every freaking week, I would. I mean, amazing. Just a different perspective, and just makes you go, never thought about it like that. And even just how to understand other people too.
Yeah.
Just to kind of take a step back. And yeah, a total huge advocate. I think it's the best thing you could ever do for yourself. Totally.
For me, the biggest thing about it was knowing I wasn't completely insane,
Yeah.
because I thought I was. There was, and again, on many occasions, I have thought things for several months before I've actually said them to my counselor, because I was too embarrassed, and I thought, what kind of person thinks those thoughts, or I was a horrible person, or whatever. But I would say them to him, and he'd go, yeah, it's normal.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what? And he goes, well, yeah, we're at this point in your grief journey, you're exactly where I would expect you to be. And that's so normal. Our counselor lost his son when his son was 10 years old. And so he knows, he's relating to me and I'm relating to him, and we're getting it. And I'm realizing I'm not crazy. I'm realizing I'm thinking thoughts that other people before me and after me will be thinking, because when they lose their loved ones, because it's just called normal. But you don't think it is, because you don't think about it and you don't talk about death until it happens. It's a society thing. You don't discuss it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would go months torturing myself thinking I was crazy, and I would say it to him and he'd just look at me and go, put it out of your head.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's normal. Let's talk about it, but it's normal. Don't put it out of your head as in you're not crazy,
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is you get to take the filter off, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with counseling, period. You get to take the filter off and it's like, is anybody listening in here? I got to say this.
Yeah.
And it's like those thoughts, like you just got to get it out.
Yeah. It's
and
just like
hey, yeah, it is. But yeah, it's like, let me just take off the filter for a minute, right? So I can just be 100% me. But then the more you do that, the more, I don't know, the thinner the filter gets or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do think that's what happens, because it's like, oh yeah, okay, it's okay that I feel that way.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. And yeah, we're not always going to have the nicest of thoughts, but it's all what we need to be doing at that moment, and we need to allow ourselves to just give ourselves permission.
That's the key. We need to allow and give permission to ourselves, because we don't, and we're the hardest on ourselves, and it's unhealthy and it's dangerous. You've got other people in your lives that you need to focus on and deal with, whether it's children, spouses, parents, but you have other people in your lives, and you need to be able to function for them, but you need to be able to mostly function for yourself. And if you can't function for yourself, you're not going to be able to help any of them. So,
and I think if the last kind of thing I want to say on this is that it really taught me is, like, we have one life. There's no do-overs, not a test run.
I've tried. I've asked for many do-overs that haven't happened yet.
No, it's not going to happen.
No.
And so it really wakened me to that. It's like, I've said this before, when I have a long day, it's like, I got a good bang for my buck.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm all about, like, just living today and living in the moment as much as I possibly can. I don't like to even think too much about, next week or tomorrow, or I want to be today as fully as I possibly can. And I really it's hard to do that. You got to really exercise.
It is hard to do that, but it is a good thing to do.
Yeah, it is in my mind all the time.
And I did it yesterday, and it was insane. The crazy, wonderful things that just kept happening yesterday and today.
Yeah. But that's okay.
I don't get that.
Yeah, but that's today. And tomorrow's another day.
It's almost like I'm so exhausted from the high I was on yesterday that today I just kind of went, ugh.
Yeah, well, it's
can't
reality.
do it.
It's called reality check.
I don't know
get
what
out of
it
the
is.
dream bubble and come back down here to real life for a moment. I love going to dream bubbles, though. So I think that's what it is. It's like, okay, yeah, I got to bring you down for a minute, okay, and we're going to coax here for a little bit. I don't know. I think right now there's a whole bunch of things that are happening. Again, I'm going to go back to, I was going to call it the moon cycles.
The moon cycles. There you go.
Right? The moon cycles. There's stuff that's happening right now. It's progressing us all forward, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to learn, and I am learning a little by little here, because
I talked to Carol. I had an energy healing last night with Carol.
I'm so jealous. I need to make time for this.
Oh, she was so wonderful.
Yeah,
I love her so much.
I know.
She was saying, I was talking to her about the whole, 2018 and how bad it was. And she said that was the end of the 7-year cycle. And this is all about change. We are now in the new cycle going forward. They're all like 7-year cycles. And we're now in the new one. And it is change. And it is good. And I'm just going, yeah, it is.
All right, let me hop on that train.
I'm there.
Yeah, I'm hopping on, and I'm going with it too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Alison, I can't thank you enough for being part of this project, the Wildflower Project, part of my life. I've learned tons from you, and I so appreciate you being this open and sharing your story, because I know that somebody else that could be listening is going to benefit from it, whether it's somebody that's dealing with loss themselves or someone that maybe he's going to help somebody else with
Yeah.
it, and just to have a better understanding of it. And so I so appreciate that.
Thank you, because it's been a hell of a ride, and you have been part of it every step of the way. And from one mom to another, I know you understand, and you were Amy's mom too. So thank you.
Thank
and
you.
we're going further.
So we're going to end here now, and thank you so much for being part of our journey too here, because like I said, the more that we get to share even some of our stuff, it's helps us move along, and we're all trying just to to do life and find our way through it and what have you. So everybody keep blooming until next time.